welcome to What Happens in This House Stays in This House, Strength Over Silence podcast. I'm your host, Tammy Montgomery Dozier. Again, thank you guys for listening to me. I truly appreciate it. I am so grateful. I'm coming up on my year anniversary within a couple of weeks, and I can't believe that I have done almost a year of podcasting. This was never my intention on doing this, but, as they make that saying, make plans and God laughs. So you never know what your life will entail if you put yourself out there. So I want to thank you guys for listening again. So this week's topic, I want to talk about grief. And I think that is something that mostly everyone in the world may be going through. I'm not just talking about grief of a loved one. I'm talking about some of us may be experiencing grief of our life, of how it used to be. Now, don't get me wrong, grief of a loved one is one of the hardest things to deal with. I just recently lost somebody in my family, and within the last year, it's been, I think, about maybe 3 or 4. So it seemed like it's coming at a more expedited rate these days with the loss of loved ones and coping with the loss of people, as well as the loss of you lost your job. May not be the same grief as a loved one, but it's still some sort of loss. Right now, a lot of people are feeling loss of freedom. You can't go out and do the things like you used to. Just the loss of intimacy, being able to hug and hold your family members like we used to be able to do without fear of getting too close or harming them. I have an older mother and father, going out, being amongst people and then coming back and being around them. You have to be careful with that. So you have a loss of so many different things, or, we experience so many different things right now. Sometimes we lose close friends. I have been in a position where I've lost friends before, and I was listening to someone recently, and they talked about when you lose someone, is it really a loss? And I think it might have been Trent Shelton. When you lose someone and they were in your life and they were a friend, supposedly to you, but if you feel uplifted more since they're gone, if you're able to make it through life better, you don't lose those sleepless nights. Have you ever talked to somebody on the phone and then once you get off, you're like, why did I do that? And I should have never told you. But if your life starts to gain momentum and it gets better without them in your life, that is not really a loss. It's actually a gain. You lost that physical person and maybe that person you talked to because you were used to being around them. But that's probably one of the best things in your life. But you don't realize that till later. So that's one of those lessons that may be a hard lesson when you lose someone that you're close to. And then have that saying that everyone in your life, or people are in your life for a reason, season, or a lifetime. And oftentimes it gets defined that way. Sometimes you grew up with people and you thought they was your friend. That was just based on because you grew up with them. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to travel with you for the rest of your life and be there for you. That is another type of loss. Being in a relationship is also a loss. If you've ever been married, that is a loss. I'm sure the process for that, if you were married and being with that person every day and being in love, and then it just didn't work out, because I don't think anybody gets married to get a divorce. I think that's one of the last things. But if it doesn't work out, that's a loss of that person no longer being in your life. Say, for instance, if you had that childhood home that all your siblings grew up in and you had nothing but fond memories, and then you had to give that away, or something happens where you had to sell it, or it's no longer there where you can visit, that is a loss. And we all grieve and we all go through things, differently. There might be that dream job that you had and you just knew that you were going to be there forever and you were going to retire. That may be your loss. So let's talk about what are the different stages of grieving. So this is what happens. Initially, when you lose something, lose someone, lose things, initially is shock and denial that happens with that, especially when you lose a loved one. whether you know they're going to pass away or it happens unexpectedly, no loss is easy. Some people say, well, it's easier if you know it. It's still not easier because they're not here. It's still not easier because you don't get to hear their voice or see their smiling face. So neither one. So you do go through that shock and denial. I remember I lost my favorite cousin. We both went away to school to Jackson State. And I was 18 years old. We were both 18 years old. And I had come home for the summer. And so he died in a car accident on his way to work. And that was one of those moments. And I thought about it. It's like, oh my God, I would have been in that car with him because generally I would go ride back with him to school once I came home, stay with my grandparents for the weekend. That was, I think, my first loss that impacted me terribly because we were like the best of friends. We did everything together. My birthday is in July. His birthday was in September. So we were like maybe about a month and a couple of days apart because my birthday is at the end of the month. And that was a loss. It took me a long, long, long time. Not that I don't ever think about it because I still think about him all the time. It was a long time before I could get over that one. Losing your best friend and that person you would talk to that's your age. So that was a shock and a denial for everybody in the family of not seeing them any longer. Then you have guilt and you have pain. So once that feeling of disbelief and shock subsides, then you begin to feel the pain of sadness, regret, emotional suffering. Think about if there's something that you could have done differently. Could you have been there more? Could you have taken that last phone call? What could you have done differently? Pain and remorse are very difficult. But you know what? These are natural emotions. Don't get down on yourself for feeling that. That is just one of the natural orders of the grieving process. Anger, bargaining. And I had a friend that lost a loved one that was close, and she was angry. She didn't realize she was angry till later on. Angry that that person left her. That was the love of her life. She was angry that she had to go through life alone because they were planning a future. Angry at him. Thinking that there was something else that could have been done differently. You know, what could she have done or what could he have done? And why was he so stubborn? And why was this? So I do get that. And then sometimes you bargain or make a deal. You know, so say, for instance, if you know somebody that had a terminal illness, you may try to make a deal with God for more time in exchange for living a better life. You know, hey, listen, if you let them live, this is what happened. This is what I'll do. We all go through that process of all these different things: depression, loneliness, reflection, and eventually you do get through it. You do. There is another side. There is another side. But when you're going through that at the beginning, you can't see that. So one of my loss to, I told you about my cousin when I was 18. So when I was 22, I had a miscarriage. So it was an unexpected pregnancy in my life. And at that time, I was going through so much. I was working 2 jobs. The guy that I was with, we weren't getting along. And I'm sure it was probably the stress of everything that was going on in my life that caused some of it, not all of it. So at that time, you know, dealing with grief, I'm going to say that I probably didn't grieve until later on in my life. Because I think that I was in denial, like, oh, it's okay. It's okay. When people would come up and hug me and be like, well, I'm sorry for your loss. I'm like, oh, I'm fine. And for the life, I thought that I was okay because sometimes you don't know that you're not. Until about a couple of years ago, somebody put baby, because I don't like hold kids. I don't do any of that. And I never realized all this time in my life, that was my way of coping. And so a couple of years ago, as I was getting ready to say, I held a baby in my arms. And at that moment, I realized that I had never grieved from not having that child. Never. I just said it was something that happened in my life. You know, maybe it was for the best. Things were going bad. But I never grieved for that loss, that it was I would have been a mom. So it goes to show you that if you don't deal with certain things, it does cause some type of pain or something in your life and you don't even realize that that is what's going on. Crazy, right? Crazy. So I'm going to say, if you can, to, try to push through it and know that there is no time limit on grief. Some people, somebody happens and they lose someone in their life and people are like, oh, well, just get over it already. If that's your time to process everything. If you've been married or been with somebody for 20 something years or 40 years or even 2 years, you've been with that person. They've been in your life every day. And you're supposed to be over it in 5 minutes as if they meant nothing to you. There's a process to grieving. There are things that you can do. There are people that you can talk to. And it's best to, try to take those avenues. This month is Mental Health Month. And so, listen, take care of yourself. As I stated at the beginning of this, we are all in a process of grieving at this moment because we don't know what's going to happen. We never saw this coming. Life is not normal. We're grieving, as I said before, being around people that you love, family members. Many people are isolated, not being able to be around people. You're at home all the time. You're going to the grocery store. Everybody's wearing masks. It's hard. Take care of yourself. Take care of your mental health. Know that this too shall pass, not just saying a cliche, but oftentimes in life it does pass. Things do shift. Things do change. It's just us getting through it. If you lost someone, if you lost a friend, if you lost a loved one, through death or just by way of just estrangement, things will get better. Just allow yourself this process. Allow yourself to grieve. It will get better. Believe me, it will. I'm sure many times in your life things have happened and you just never saw the other side of anything happening any different. It does get better. Now, sometimes the outcome may not be what we want it to be. But however, sometimes the outcome is what it should be and what we need it to be. Might not make sense what I just said. So say, for instance, you lose that job, one that you like so much. But in the process of that, grieving, you have an epiphany that this is something else that I've always wanted to do. And you end up starting your own business, or you end up going down a different path. Things like that can happen. Sometimes it's when you lose a person I'm not saying via death because no, nobody wants that. I'm talking about sometimes when you lose things or people or jobs, sometimes it may be for the best. That person that you thought had your back doesn't really have your back like you thought they did. Sometimes that loss can be a good thing because then you get to go back and reflect on yourself and seeing who you really are. And it ends up opening up doors and different things, and you will be so amazed. So, people, that is my time. Again, thank you all for listening to me. I do appreciate it. My name is Tammy Montgomery Dozier, and thank you for listening to What Happens in This House Stays in This House, Strength Over Silence podcast. My number is 773-251-5537. My website, www.connectedbyloveconsulting.net. Again, remember, this is Mental Health Month. Take care of yourself. I have mental health information on my website, people you can reach out to. If it just seems like it's just getting too hard, please reach out. I can get you in contact with the right people. This is the time. We are here for each other. Hey, we're here in life. We're going to ride this thing till the wheel falls off. All right. Again, thank you guys for listening and create a great week.